Good evening. Welcome to the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board meeting of February 4th, 2016. The board did meet in closed session with no reportable action. I do want to make a note that Trustee Hennessy had a family emergency this morning at 4:30 and departed the basin. Trustee Levac is with us here from Glenshire, feeling a little under the weather with no voice, but she's here listening, taking notes, and being an active part of our process. Trustee Mooney had a travel obligation and is listening on the way, but he's not able to speak. But again, we'll hear it and respond when he gets back to his location. At this point, are there any changes to the posted agenda, Superintendent Kramer?
No changes to the agenda.
Okay, and as our roll call will happen, Lupita will announce Kirsten Levac's name so she can do roll call, and then Danielle and I will respond. So is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Actually, can I just chime in really quick because the year is 2026.
What did I say?
And you said it was 2016.
Oh my gosh.
Just a detail there. Even though we like to time travel.
Thank you.
No problem.
Did
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is that going to work, Lupita? Okay, thank you, Kirsten. At this point, did I do it out of order?
That's okay.
I did. Let us have, North Tahoe High. Oh, there we are, front row. Will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Sorry. You are looking very dapper.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow. Thank you. I'll check that one up. And we approve the agenda out of order. At this point, 8.0 public comment. This is the time for any item to be discussed that is not on the agenda. And is there any public that wishes to speak at this point on topics that are not on our agenda? Seeing none, I will close 8.0 public.
Was it for athletics or another comment?
It was for athletics and for the protest.
The protest, you would want to go now for that part if you like. You can come up to.
Talk about athletics, you're gonna,
No,
Athletics will be during the agenda item.
okay.
Yeah.
So just the protest?
Yes, please.
Okay. Well, there was people signed up ahead of me too.
But I think they're all athletics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep, thank you so much.
Oh, there we go. Green? All right, my name's Joseph McThorne. I've lived here in Truckee for about 18 years. My son is grown up and born here, went through all the public schools, is now a freshman at Truckee High. Last week there was a protest, I believe it was on Friday. I did not receive notification to that protest. My understanding is that the school district is obligated to notify parents prior to any organized protest that students may be leaving campus. So I just want to try to hit things that are not rumors and get facts as to what actually happened on Friday. It appears that there may be some violations to the neutrality and to the duty of care, which is the safety of our children, especially in the middle school. I'm requesting an official investigation of these potential violations of the duty of care and neutrality within the high school and the middle school, Alder Creek specifically. There was directly from students, I'm not going to use names, but that school supplies were used to make signs for this protest, which would be in violation of neutrality and also fiscally irresponsible. There was also some issues at the middle school, Alder Creek, where teachers apparently, again, trying to get fact instead of rumor, that had opened the gates for the students to leave, and that students actually left and went to Full Belly Deli. We know that 8th grade and under, it's a closed campus for all schools. This, again, would violate the duty of care. And if kids did leave, that's a big issue, obviously, for middle school and under. So again, just want to ask for an official investigation. I'd be more than happy to help in any part of this. I'd like to get results publicly at the school board meeting as to if there was violations to the duty of care, neutrality, and if teachers did support this protest. So yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you for that.
I actually have one on protest as well. I don't know if she's going to go. Did you have something?
Yes, I have a public comment, not for athletics. Hi, everybody. My name is Kyra, and I am speaking tonight as a student and as the founder of a club at North Tahoe High School focused on student voices and activism. I'm here to talk a little bit about how difficult it has been for students to take meaningful action through fundraising when the cause doesn't fit into the usual or most familiar pathways. This year, my club wanted to fundraise to support a specific education center in Gaza called Al Jawad, which works to provide learning opportunities for children who currently don't have consistent access to school and are displaced because of the conflict. Education is something our members care deeply about. Kids' rights to learn, to have classrooms and teachers and stability even when everything is so difficult for them. We weren't trying to run a large or complicated operation. The original idea was simple: a small raffle, donated prizes by members of the club, and tickets being sold at basketball games. What we didn't anticipate was how many bureaucratic barriers we would hit almost immediately. I completely understand the need for transparency, accountability, and a paper trail when money is involved. That makes sense. But the reality is that navigating the ASB rules, approved platforms, restrictions on online donations, and inconsistent guidelines around things like posting information or fundraising methods, it's been extremely challenging and honestly kind of disheartening. There were moments where it felt like the only workable option was to redirect our efforts towards a large, well-known organization, only because it was easier administratively. And while those organizations do important work, that wasn't the goal for us. We wanted to support a specific school and show students exactly where their effort was going and who it was helping. A big reason I started this club was because I've seen how apathetic students can become when activism feels abstract, when it's just signing petitions or reposting some GoFundMe on their Instagram stories. When students can see direct, tangible results from their work, it changes their motivation completely, and it makes our civil engagement feel worth it and impactful. So right now, I believe the system makes that kind of impact harder than it needs to be. I'm not here just to complain. I'm here because I believe that this is something that could be improved, not just for my club, but for any future students who want to fundraise for causes that are meaningful, specific, and sometimes outside of the usual framework. Clear guidelines, more consistent rules, or more flexible school-approved fundraising pathways would make a real difference for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think you did a better job than I'm going to do.
Tough act to follow.
Do I have to press a button?
The green light's on.
Okay. Hi, my name is Beth McNeil. I have two great kids in 8th grade, and I am deeply concerned about the manner in which the protest was held on Friday, specifically regarding duty of care for the students at middle school and the district's obligation to maintain political neutrality across all grade levels. TTUSD had prior knowledge of this planned protest at the middle school. I knew about the protest nationally. I had not had a chance to talk to my kids about it because I didn't think it was time in their life yet. NGOs, teachers' unions are promoting this with our kids. Parents were not notified despite the district's multiple established communication systems. The decision to not notify parents constitutes a serious lapse in duty of care. Furthermore, the campus was not secure during the event. A gate was opened during 5th period, and there's an existing breach in the fence. Students were able to leave, evidence of which can be verified through full deli receipts. This is extremely concerning, as any student leaving campus without parental consent should be treated as an emergency. It was not. TTSD was incredibly fortunate that no child was injured while off campus without parental consent, especially in the middle school. You would be getting sued right now if that parent did not agree to that protest. The situation reflects gross negligence and noncompliance with established educational code protections. I am formally requesting a complete investigation into who opened the gate and or authorized it to be opened, what parental notification, why parental notification was not issued when prior knowledge of the protest existed. This needs immediate, comprehensive clarification for staff so they can enforce it if protests or something like this occurs in the future. I am deeply concerned related to political neutrality during and around this event. It was witnessed that staff distributed materials for sign making. This is not a school activity, and materials are state bought. It violated neutrality. Staff were giving high fives to protesting students, again, not neutral. Perhaps the worst violation, agree with it or not, but if you're going to enforce students being able to show how they feel, a kid was wearing a MAGA hat and he had to remove it. That is definitely, clearly not demonstrating neutrality. Therefore, I am requesting an investigation to staff members that violated neutrality code, and I'm putting TTUSD on notification for violation of neutrality. I am requesting and will be filing for public records of all internal communications among the TTUSD staff concerning the protest. I am requesting a publicly available written action plan outlining how the district will enforce staff neutrality and creating consequences for staff who fail to uphold the standard. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Are there any more public comments for items not on the agenda? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mimi Anello. I have 2 grandchildren here. I live here 2 years. My family's lived here 10 years. I have one question to ask the teachers. What would you teachers have done if a child would have gotten hurt at Deli Belly or in this ridiculous whatever, if a child would have gotten hurt, hit by a car, sprained an ankle, fallen or something like that? What would you tell the parents now? I'm sorry, it was a political whatever. What would you tell the parents of the child? What would you say to them? I'm sorry, dude. It was a mistake. It's their right. That's my question to the teachers. How dare you? How dare you take our children and use them as pawns for your political beliefs? Thank you.
Mimi, thank you very much for that. Is there another public comment? Okay, thanks.
My name is Emma Brown, and I'm a 9th grader at North Tahoe High. I participated in the protests this year, the other weekend, and I wasn't really prepared to speak, but I just think, of course, we want to keep everybody safe, and it probably was like, we probably should have organized it a little bit better, but it was kind of a last-minute thing because of the national strike, and so it was kind of, I think the schools kind of did it a last minute. The students arranged it, and I think it was like a really important, regardless of your political beliefs, I think everyone deserves the right to speak their opinions, and of course we want to keep everybody safe, but I just think that what we did was respectful and peaceful, and I think that that deserves more respect. That's it. Thank you.
So at this point, I'm seeing no more hands raised, so I will close the public comment and move to 9.0, which is student representatives. Students, Sorry. No, let me go back on the record. There was no more public comment, so we've closed public comment. Moving on to 9.0, which is our student representatives. And at this point, we will start with North Tahoe High School. Looks like we have Kenia, Randy, and Kyra. Is that correct? Did I pronounce all your names wrong? Close. Kenia, Randy, and Kyra. Okay, thank you. Oh, here we are.
Hi again, everybody. Good evening. Today we celebrated the 100th day of school, and we officially began a new semester, which gave students a fresh start and renewed motivation. Events such as the Olympics Assembly, Broman, and activities with Incline helped strengthen our school spirit. We had a lot of participation, and it brought students together as a community. Super cool stuff. On Friday, January 30th, students also demonstrated meaningful civic engagement through a student-organized walkout in response to recent ICE activity. While this demonstration was not at all school-sanctioned at North Tahoe High School, students independently organized it and gathered peacefully at the roundabout in Kings Beach. For many students, it was motivating and empowering to come together in this way. And this event is a great example of our community's strong awareness of our civil rights and responsibilities. We appreciate that the school respected students' First Amendment right to peacefully assemble while still prioritizing campus safety. Student clubs across campus continue to be active and engaged, and Enviolution and Voices for Change have recently been discussing a proposed Placer County ordinance restricting single-use plastics in the Lake Tahoe Basin. Students are learning about how similar policies have been successful in communities like Truckee and South Lake, and many feel strongly about protecting Lake Tahoe due to its environmental importance and its big role in our local livelihoods. These conversations reflect our growing student interest in environmental stewardship and in our local government processes.
All right. And throughout February, students will be selecting courses for next year with support from course fairs, allowing them to explore their interests and future goals. We're excited to introduce new courses offering including outdoor adventure recreation, criminal justice, and clothing design, which will provide students with a hand-on career-focused learning opportunities. This Wednesday, we will also host 8th grade orientation for incoming students and their families to support a smooth transition into high school.
This Saturday, the district will host Steps to College for Spanish-speaking families, offering transportation from across the district, a college fair at the Mexican Consulate, and a tour of college campus. Students also enjoyed activities such as Valentine Grams, and we're looking forward to Slide and Glide on a minimum day, inspired by Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Additionally, SAT School Day on March 11 will provide juniors with the opportunity to take the exam during the school day.
Thank you for your time and continued support of our students, staff, and programs. We truly appreciate the opportunities provided to our schools and look forward to a positive and successful remainder of the semester. Thank you.
Thank you, North Tahoe. Up next, we have Sierra High School, Rory Parrish.
Good evening, Superintendent Kramer, members of the board, and members of the cabinet. My name is Rory Parrish, and I am an 11th grade student with Sierra High School. We successfully completed the first semester of school this year in our alternative education programs. A shout out to all our students for all of their hard work to finish the semester strong. Thank you to our amazing teachers and staff who helped our students earn their credits. Students in Ms. Herrera's class at Sierra High School are wrapping up the Wolf Project documentary. The students completed the trailer for the documentary film, which is now available for viewing. The class will be showing their trailer at the Wild and Science Scenic Film Festival in Grass Valley at the end of the month. They will also participate as panelists for a Q&A session with the audience. The students make their big statement at the International Wildlife Film Festival in Montana in April. They will be showing the full documentary at the film festival along with participating as panelists for a Q&A discussion with the audience. The students have been working so hard on this project, and it's exciting to see the end results. Once the documentary is complete, we will share it with the board and cabinet members. Sierra High School and Truckee River have partnered with the local SOS outreach program for opportunities to ski or snowboard at a local resort. Some of the students have never been skiing or snowboarding before, let alone riding a chairlift or a gondola. Our students have had a blast, and a lot of them said they want to go more so they can get better at the sport. Huge shout out to our counselor, Mrs. Hurley, for organizing these events for us. Students in Miss Zapata's class at Sierra High School started their annual Shakespeare unit. This year they are rating Othello as their final project. The students will act and perform various pieces of Othello with a local theater company that provides props, wardrobe, and a theater to perform their scenes. We are finalizing the FAFSA application process, and students are now starting to prepare for scholarship applications. A lot of our students are eager to start applying to schools and programs so they can begin the next chapter of their lives. Ms. Carlin, our college and career tech, has been so helpful throughout this entire process. Coldstream Alternative conducted their WASC mid-cycle review last December. WASC notified us that we were granted another 3 years for our WASC accreditation to close out the 6-year accreditation cycle. A shout out to our staff, parents, and students for participating and getting involved in our mid-cycle review. At Sierra High School, we have several guest speakers visit our school during our Panther Pride time, which we call Circle, to share with students about different trades, occupations, and colleges. Some highlights include a local tattooer business owner, local restaurant businesses, engineering occupations and pathways, and local colleges like TMCC, Lake Tahoe Community College, and Sierra College. Once again, thank you to Ms. Carlin, our college and career technician, and Mrs. Hurley, our school counselor, for setting up these guest speakers as well. We have a lot of students taking Sierra High classes this semester, classes ranging from psychology, drawing, various English classes, and technological sciences. Students receive support for their classes at Sierra High School to ensure that they successfully pass and complete the classes. We are so proud of our students who are taking advantage of our local community college. Our teen parents and their children continue to receive amazing support from the STEP program. Thanks to Cindy Maciel and the STEP program for providing helpful resources, parenting classes, and various support to ensure our students are successful in both school and as parents. Mr. Zapata's ELD class at Sierra High School has grown substantially from years past. Mr. Zapata is doing an amazing job of making connections with students by focusing his language lessons on topics that are engaging and practical with real-life applications. An example of this is that Mr. Zapata will begin a few recipe building activities to support students with language enrichment. Students will take the recipes and learn to apply them to cooking in our kitchen. Students are really enjoying this class. That's it for tonight. Thank you.
Rory, wait, before you go down, so Principal Santos, do you think that he could get an A on that public speaking class? Yeah. Dude, that was awesome. The only bummer is he's in shorts and it's February. So nuts. But Roy, that was awesome. Thank you very much. That was an awesome, amazing presentation. Not to be outdone though, Lily. Where's Lily Faye from Truckee? Let's do it.
Hi everyone, my name is Lily Faye and I'm a senior at Truckee High and I'm our ASB Vice President. At Truckee High, we just had our finals the second to last week of January, and now we're into our new semester, so we've new classes and everything, and over finals, our leadership class prepared goodie bags for each student with like a mint, pencil, erasers, and like a little fidget toy to give them a little extra support during finals. And then our winter sports are kind of winding down right now. Basketball, the boys have their last home game tonight, and our girls are in Sparks tonight as well. And we had our senior farewell last Friday night, and we had a camo theme, and it went really well. And we made some decorations for the student section, so yeah, it was great. And then wrestling is doing really well. Our JV team was just at championships. And our skiing and snowboarding teams are doing well too. We have a snowboarding race every Monday. So, yeah. And then our academic team has been winning every single match so far, and they'll soon be heading to regionals and hopefully states. And then our spring sports will be starting up soon as well. And we have a Spirit Week next week. It's like Valentine's Day themed, and so we have dress-up days for every day of the week. And we've been decorating the hallways, and we have these big windows that we've been writing on with like cute markers and everything. And we have our rally on the 12th. And yeah, so leadership has been working on decorations and rally planning since the new year. And we have a new advisor this semester, Mr. Fertitta, since our normal advisor, Ms. Delgado, is unfortunately still on medical leave. So upperclassmen, including myself, are really taking the underclassmen under our wing to show them the ropes and produce a great rally. And then in March, on March 1st, we have our senior fashion show coming up. So we've kind of started to plan that. One of our amazing teachers, Miss Jacobs, and amazing mom, Brienne Lopez, have been really helping us with that. This year it's going to be at the Timbers at Old Greenwood. And yeah, it's just going to be a super fun way to raise money for our senior class. And then on March 19th, we have our volleyball game Broman coming up. So we're going to start planning for that too after Valentine's Day. Last year, the juniors won, so hopefully we'll reclaim the title, win back to back. And everyone was really into it last year. It was a super fun event. And then after the rally next week, it's a bit far away, but we're also going to start planning for prom because that's our other big event that leadership has taken on as of last year. So we're going to really figure out all those logistics and everything. That's coming up on May 30th, and we have it reserved for North Star, and we're partnering with Rubicon. They have a really good deal with us for food. So yeah, that's kind of it for our update. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lily. Yeah, a lot of great news. We find out so much great stuff from you guys, and thank you very much for public speaking. We appreciate all that you do and say, so that is awesome. I've lost my flow here. Let's go back to Student Showcase. That's 10.0, Superintendent Kramer.
Well, I'm very excited to invite up Principal Joanna Mitchell from North Tahoe High School and her team to showcase a program at North Tahoe High. Welcome.
Hello. Hello. Am I on? Yeah. Hello. Thank you for this opportunity for all of us to come and talk about my favorite topic, North Tahoe High School. And tonight we are going to highlight our Ski Academy program for you. And just this week, we celebrated the beginning of the Olympics and what we think is very unique, special Olympic legacy at North Tahoe High School. We have 10 previous Lakers, they're still Lakers, who have been Olympians in the past, and 3 that are competing in this Olympics. That is pretty spectacular especially for a public school. And we were able to have 4 past Olympians come and talk to our students, and others sent videos who couldn't be there. And it was just a really great way to celebrate North Tahoe High School, Lakers, and our Ski Academy. 3 of our past Olympians did end up going to another school after starting at North Tahoe High School. And part of that was because it was really hard to be a highly competitive skier and maintain all the requirements of a comprehensive high school. And in response to that, we developed the Ski Academy. So back in 2007, Penny Burney, our counselor at the time, and Johanna Monfort, a very involved parent of ski racers, worked together to create a model where student athletes could benefit from high-level training and competition, as well as experience the richness and diversity of a comprehensive high school. We started with about 4 students at that time, and it was made for student athletes who have training and competition requirements that conflict with the normal school day. So students who needed to train in the afternoon and needed to miss school, it allowed them to be able to train. It combines traditional on-site classes with independent study, online and college classes, and we are really indebted to the partnership that we have with Coldstream Alternative School for providing independent study classes for our students in Ski Academy. Our Ski Academy has grown. We now have a full-time independent study coordinator for our Ski Academy with Laura Delorier, and you will hear a whole lot about her in a little bit. We now have 22 Tier 1 and 101 Tier 2 student athletes participating in our Ski Academy. And Jason will talk a little bit about what Tier 1 and Tier 2 is in a minute. But it's not just skiers. Students participate who need the flexibility for Nordic skiing, snowboarding, alpine skiing. We have a rafting team that is competing internationally. They do skier cross, free ride, freestyle, slopestyle, big mountain. Students who need it for volleyball, soccer, or dance, things like that, acting and music. And so in 11th and 12th grade, our students have access to Coldstream independent study classes. And in 9th and 10th grade, we have transitioned into North Tahoe High School teachers offering classroom-style independent study classes for our Ski Academy students through Coldstream. And Jason will tell you a little bit more about our different tiers.
Good evening. I'm Jason Fleesock, Assistant Principal at North Tahoe High School. So as we mentioned here, we have two different tiers that comprise our North Tahoe Ski Academy program. Our Tier 1 students are scheduled in 6 on-site classes. So they do have a normal school day compared to other peers. But they do have a need for frequent independent study or competition or travel. And so, as I'll introduce her soon, Laura helps manage that. So they do not take the independent study Coldstream classes typically. They don't have the aggressive training schedule that some of the skiers and other competitors do. But this is an expansion of the program that's worked out really well for us. We also have our Tier 2 students. This is where the majority of our Ski Academy students live. Again, as we said, we have 102 students currently in Tier 2. So these are students that have 4 on-site classes at North Tahoe High School, as well as 2 independent study or Ski Academy classes. And what this does, these classes, the 4 on-site classes are typically in the morning. They open up the afternoons for them to train regularly during school hours. And it is in addition to supporting them with their independent study that comes up when they're doing their travel, particularly through the winter and early spring. The requirements for a North Tahoe Ski Academy student are pretty robust, and Laura does an incredible job rolling this information out to our families, meeting with families individually so that there is a really clear agreement on what it means to be a Ski Academy student and the standard that they're held to. All Ski Academy students do complete a contract which confirms their participation in a sport or activity which would require some extensive travel or training during school hours at some point. The contract must be signed by a coach, as well as the athlete and the parent and administrator of the school. There has to be big parent commitment, and Laura does a great job onboarding parents through this process so that we can ensure that their work is completed in a very timely fashion, so that we're not putting extra pressure on the teachers necessarily to manage their workload while they're gone. The students have to complete work while they're traveling, and the students have to be caught up to be signed out for their next independent study. And the students in the Ski Academy are really great about that. When I was teaching at North Tahoe High School prior to this role, I've had students call in to me from a lift, actively on the lift to check in with me about their schoolwork. We also have a high academic standard, higher than what we have for most student athletes at our school. Students have to maintain a GPA of 2.8 or higher at all times, and no Fs on their report cards. They also have to have no or minimal tardies throughout the school year, as well as no behavior infractions. And again, Laura does an incredible job working very diligently in managing and monitoring this throughout the school year. So I'll bring up Ms. Delorier, or as just Laura, as she's called at school by all the students, to tell us more. There you go.
So I start my school year off. Every student and every family has a individual family meeting with me. We go over all of the rules and regulations, as well as just checking up on where the kid is that year. So even seniors sometimes are like, oh my God, another one? I'm like, absolutely. I get to hear about where you plan to apply to college. And it's just a great way for me to check in with all my students. I do kind of hurdle some kiddies a little bit, and these are a couple of them. I work a lot. It says up there, feeds, counsels, supports, and harasses as needed. That's the main part of my job. I do lure them in with snacks. It does help. I'm like, if you want to have that fruity chew, then you have to bring me your paperwork. But they see me in the hall all the time. They're the ones that shouldn't be wandering in the halls, taking 10 minutes to go to the bathroom, because I see them and they get in trouble. But anyways, it's been a joy. And these are a couple of my kiddos that are going to tell you a little bit about what was available to them by having this program available. Click, click. Who am I? Oh, I have the click.
Yeah, I got you.
I'm not a clicker.
It's okay.
Okay, that's Ms. Mitchell occasionally will do a Saturday school, and a lot of my skiers were out and about and and they were supposed to go on a trip the next week. So we had probably 12, 15 kids that showed up for a Saturday school voluntarily to get their work in, which was pretty exciting. Okay, we are going to start off with Hemina, who is part of our Tier 1 program, which means that she has a regular schedule, but I'm going to have her tell you about what our program means to her.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Jimena Trinidad, and I am a Tier 1 Ski Academy student. I play club volleyball, and I also played volleyball for the school. And being in Tier 1 Ski Academy is greatly beneficial as an athlete. Club volleyball comes with a lot of late night practices, getting home late. We drive all the way down to Reno. We have really long tournaments at times, and we just constantly get home late. So we do have this kind of squished thing, but we're not constantly traveling out of the state or just out of the area in general. So Ski Academy helps just maintain this support system. I feel personally very supported in knowing that I have Laura here to help me with anything really, and then that I do have this kind of fallback when I need it. Ski Academy helps me and other students all over the school. We have help with making up tests if we miss a day or two. We have help communicating with our teachers when we do miss these days. We have, and at times we do have these excused absences when we are missing school. So it's really, really great because we aren't with that constant pressure of, oh shoot, I'm gonna go play at an 8-hour-long tournament and then I still have to get in all my homework. But of course we do our schoolwork. We do our schoolwork. I'm a good student. Laura is amazing, and she helps me and so many other students, volleyball players, soccer players, skiers, snowboarders, and yeah, just this whole program has been really great. I didn't do it last year, and I also did play club volleyball, so the pressure was definitely there a little bit more, and I was a little bit more crunched on time. So this year, just knowing that I have, with AP classes and just such a full schedule and doing this, it's just really great, and knowing that I do have support from teachers and my peers and other people. Thank you.
Oh, yep. Okay, now we have Nikki and Britta, and they have some fun stuff to share.
Okay. Hi, my name is Nikki Johnson. I'm Britta Johnson, and we're seniors at North Tahoe High School. We have been part of Ski Academy for all 4 years of high school. It has played a huge role in helping us both succeed academically and in Nordic skiing. It has given us the support we need to miss school for training and traveling while staying on track in all of our classes. The program coordinates with teachers and helps student athletes stay caught up in classes. This has allowed us to take long trips for Nordic skiing, sometimes weeks at a time, to places like Silver Star, Canada, Lake Placid, New York, and Oslo, Norway, without falling behind in school. It has also given us amazing opportunities, such as skiing with the best juniors in the country and traveling internationally without having to sacrifice our academics. Ski Academy has taught us how to communicate with teachers, take responsibility for our classes, and work hard with the reward of doing what we love. It's taught us time management skills and how to balance school workloads with training. Ski Academy has made it possible for us to develop a schedule that fits our needs. We're able to take our language class earlier than most students, which gave us a head start in our required classes, eventually freeing up time our junior and senior year where we're able to focus on ski training. It has provided student athletes with a quiet place to study, ask questions, and stay focused. Even simple support, such as being able to take a day off before a camp to avoid getting sick, has made a huge difference. Through all of this, we've maintained straight A's, earned academic honors all semesters of high school, and stayed involved in multiple clubs, while missing around 2 months of school each year. Due to this program, the support it has provided us, Nikki and I have made it onto the University of Boulder, Colorado, continuing our career of Nordic skiing for their D1 team, where few Americans find a spot. Yep. Ski Academy, thank you. Ski Academy has allowed us to pursue what we love at a high level while still getting a strong education and learning how to balance goals with responsibilities. Thank you for your time.
Okay, and now I'd like to introduce Ryan Lapp, who has really taken advantage of the program.
Hello, my name is Ryan Lapp. I'm a senior at North Tahoe High School and a competitive freeride skier for Team Palisades Tahoe. Without Ski Academy, I would not have been able to achieve the goals I've dreamt of as I was a kid, like getting my first sponsor at 13 years old and traveling around the world filming and doing photo shoots for ski companies and competing in different countries like France, Austria, and Switzerland. My favorite thing about Ski Academy is probably the hybrid learning, because I can be in a different country or state, do full-time skiing throughout the day, and then go home and crank out all my schoolwork that I need to do and get it in on time. 2 things that Ski Academy has really helped me achieve that are really big in my life is getting into the University of Utah, which I will be attending next year. Thank you. And having a real shot at making it on the Freeride World Tour, which is the world stage for freeride skiing. And I would like to thank Laura and the school board for helping all these athletes with their dreams and making it become a reality.
Plug your movie.
Oh, and watch Truancy on YouTube, please.
I'm just super proud of all of our kids and the effort that they put in, and they really do try to do it all. And most of the time, they accomplish it. So I'm super psyched.
I mean, that's it. That was awesome. Thank you very much. I think I might have been one of those 4 people in the beginning when we started that Ski Academy, or I wasn't. My kids were. Comments from the board.
Thanks for the presentation. I think I say this every meeting. It's one of my favorite parts of our school board meetings is having that direct connection to what's happening with our schools, in addition to when we do the site tours. And I think this is just such a unique offering that our school has to balance support for students. I wrote to myself, it takes a village, and I really feel like this is a demonstration of that village in uplifting the students for their success. So it was an awesome presentation. Thanks to all the students for putting in the effort and coming and telling us directly. And I think that just shows the success of it and that it's working and it's providing a great path for students to success. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Danielle. Kirsten, I'm not sure how to get her back on our. Oh, yeah. So, okay. So that's true. Thank you. You have to make sure she's back on. The comment that I was going to make is that I love the fact that our district has been able to take what was sort of a problem and fix it. Like we knew that we were losing kids, and so how do we keep them in our schools and where we live? This was like a perfect outdoor program. So it was a kind of a cool thing. I do like that. It was, I wouldn't say it was definitely parent put together with Montfort and Penny Burney, but Student Voice. And it was like the students really wanted to do this, and then we had, I laugh that we have so many athletes that are in the Olympics. We have a trend, like we have this awesome group of people that just believe in education and in sport. So I'm excited about it. I'm glad it worked. I'm glad you didn't have to go away. Like, how cool is that you didn't have to go away to a ski academy, and it's our public school. Like, you guys were able to stay at home and do what you wanted to do at home, but then become able to go travel as far as you did. And we've got some great results, like, all over the place. I think, Nikki, did they leave, Nikki and Britta? They just did didn't they win something big back in Lake Placid or something? So Britta did. So lots of great things happening with our kids. Oh, you have something else you wanted to share? I turned it off.
I just did want to say that JC and AJ are like the only people on the U.S. ski team who have gone to a public school. Wow. Like all other members of the U.S. ski team have gone to private schools.
Well, and again, this is what I think is so unique about your school. Just for instance, when Garrett was racing, he was the only American on the NCAA Division I. So this is a huge deal that our little public school can put them on there. But yeah, that's so very good. I think she did say something in her video to go Lakers. So hopefully they'll have a Laker hat. I think they have Laker hats. Yes. That was awesome. Thank you very much for coming. And I do believe that all the artwork is North Tahoe that's on our wall. So appreciate Lupita and Natalie for putting that up. But these are all great indications of how our students are doing multifaceted things in our schools. With that, we will close the student showcase and move on to superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Driller. For the first part of my report, it's a perfect segue into our athletics comment. So we do have Spanish interpretation for the athletics tonight. We know this is an important topic for our community, and we want access for everyone. So thank you to Sandra, who's here. And she will be providing that at the next couple meetings about athletics as well for that topic. And then I also want to just acknowledge, I know the audience online can't see it, but that we have great participation here in the boardroom. We so appreciate the community's engagement on this subject, and your comments that you're sending in and speaking at the podium. We're listening carefully, and they mean a lot to us. And we love when the students get up and speak and share as well. They really show the deep care that the community has for our athletes, and that we saw at North Tahoe High School, how they built a system almost 20 years ago so that students could stay at their home school and be an international or national athletic competitor. And I also want to give a shout out and give an example of the level of care our community has. If you go by the Truckee High School track during the day, you'll notice that the first and second lane has been shoveled. The other day I looked over there, I'm like, I think the whole thing all the way around, I actually walked it, and they're doing that. This is a volunteer that cleared through Principal Newberger. They're doing that to open the drain around the track, with the purpose of trying to get the track melted and cleared sooner for our athletes. So I'm sharing this with the wider community so that everyone understands the level of dedication our community has for our athletes. All of you step up, you speak, you come, you shovel, you snow blow. We care about our students. I also want to acknowledge that we have unity around concern and care for our students. The board and the staff, we've been struggling with the legal implications since last April. This board cares deeply for our students as well, and we've been grappling with this right along with you. And I know that there'll be different opinions and perspectives tonight, and I just appreciate that people keep coming and speaking up and sharing their voice, and you'll hear from staff and the board tonight and hearing our perspective as well. So I just really want the wider community to know that the district cares about the kids and our community sure cares too, and we really appreciate that. So on the legal side of things, we received a letter from the California Department of Education Monday night, February 2nd. As you know, we had written to them again on January 21st, letting them know and asking again, we really need to have a 2-year transition. As you guys know, you were with us last spring. We went through this. We knew that a rushed switch was not the right answer. So we got a letter back, and it was just one sentence long, but basically we went back in time, not to 2016, but to October 16th of 2025. And we had asked for an extension originally when the investigation report was sent to us at the end of the month. And they went back, and even though they denied that, they have now granted us the extension. And really, you know, we can speculate a lot on this. As you know, the board has reached out to Superintendent Thurman. We're trying to get a conversation going at the state. We still have not heard back from Superintendent Thurman. But what we can take away from the letter is 2 important things. One, the corrective actions based on that report are still in effect. And we'll talk about that a lot tonight, what that means. But it does mean, and I know this is good certainty for students, families, and both Athletic Federation Association, is that we'll remain in NI2A for sure for next year. We know now that CDE is not going to force a switch or put a sanction in place for next year. So we have informed Commissioner Garrison with CIF, so he and the Sac Joaquin section are aware of that. We let him know that 28-29 was still the district's target for the switch, and we'll get into that a little bit. And then we also let Tim Jackson of NI2A. So everyone could breathe a sigh of relief. He'll let his Board of Control know tomorrow that, as he said before at the Board of Control meeting, keep them on the schedule. Keep Tahoe Truckee on the schedule. We'll be on the schedule with them. Okay, so the meat of the meeting. So as you said, it said legal. It's going to be a lot of legal stuff tonight. But we did want to acknowledge, I know there was frustration at the January 21st board meeting, our last one. The community had a lot of questions they had sent in, and people got up and spoke, and the board wasn't responding, and that was frustrating. And I just want to clarify, when we receive public comment, like we did tonight about the protest, the board actually can't respond. They can only discuss things that are on the agenda. And as you heard, our 2 public commenters asked that we bring it back so it'll be public in the future, so we put it on the agenda then, if the board agrees that that's what we want to do. So as you heard at the last meeting, we're going to have the standing athletics agenda item so that we can talk about things. So I just wanted to clarify, the board's not trying to be difficult. We just have to be careful with the Brown Act and only discuss things that are on the pre-published agenda. So what we did is we looked at our notes from the January 21st meeting, and we kind of coalesced some of the main questions into these 4 topics that we're going to go one by one tonight. So kind of the rhythm for tonight will be, we're going to go one question at a time. And as you know, we have a forum now so that other questions as they come up, people can submit in case they're not able to come and give public comment. We want to make sure we're not missing things. And so when we received related questions over the weekend and this week, if it tied in, we kind of added those questions. We won't get to all of those tonight. We'll keep moving those forward as we go. So we'll start with a question. District staff will provide information for the board, and the board will discuss or ask us questions. Then we'll move on to the next one, and we'll get through all 4. Then at that point, we'll go to the public comment about athletics, because I know many of you are here, and we do have the sign-in, and it's okay if you didn't get a chance to sign in. We'll go in order, and then we'll keep it open for people. So that's kind of the plan for the rhythm of how this agenda item will go. Let me just make sure I didn't miss. Yep, okay. Okay, President Driller, first question.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you all for being here. This is the first question. Does the board support the move to CIF? What I'll probably do is, and again, there's all these answers up there, and I hope as you are reading through them, you can see what we've been asked. I'm going to actually turn it back to Superintendent Kramer to give us direction on the legal part of this, and then, okay, move from there.
Yeah. And so as we mentioned, with the letter from the CDE, it didn't take away the corrective actions. It didn't go all the way back to last June. Or, as you know, we submitted that reconsideration. So they didn't go to the reconsideration and take into consideration all of those things that we had shared and either dropped the complaint or reconsidered in another way. So we know that the corrective actions are still mandated by the state. And as we've talked about before, we've been stuck because we're a California school district, so we have to follow the state laws and regulations of California. But we, as athletics program, have been in Nevada, and we know last April they made that policy change. So we just want to be clear that the corrective actions are still binding and mandating and guiding us as a district. And I just want to highlight that we had district legal counsel here at the December 17th board meeting, and they, Matt, he reviewed some of the things that could happen if the district chooses not to comply with the corrective actions. So just to review those, one thing that the state of California and the California Department of Education could choose to do is do a writ of mandate against us, which would be a court order forcing the district to comply with the law. And then if we still chose to be out of compliance, we could get a contempt of court order against the board and myself, or they can appoint a state trustee. And the trustee would come in and oversee all athletics, and we would lose local voice on athletics. And just to be clear, for us as district team and board, our goal has been to make sure that we have uninterrupted sports programs and trying to make sure that our students could clear. Last spring, the issue was clearing the physical form without invasive procedures or having to give confidential information. So we got that resolved. The other thing that could happen is the state could do a preliminary injunction against us that would force us to stop implementing or staying in NI2A. So the worry there is suddenly they come in, they do the injunction, boom, we're out of NI2A. That would interrupt our sports program. So we are very aware of this, and our goal is to make sure that next year we have a streamlined, smooth experience in NI2A. And then another option the state could take, if they felt that we were blatantly planning to defy the corrective actions, would be put sanctions in place. And this is where they would withhold state and federal funds. So for that part, I'm actually going to turn to our Chief Business Officer, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Mr. Todd Rivera, just to talk about the budget and the financial side.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, members of the board. So, yeah, the sanctions for withholding state and federal funds is actually a pretty large concern fiscally for the district. Just to give you a general picture, our general fund budget is approximately $109 million. So we've grown quite a lot over the last few years, added a lot of additional programs. And we are very fortunate as a district because we're considered what's called a basic aid district or a community funding district. And what that means is that our primary source of funding comes from property taxes, and that exceeds the state base level funding amounts that other school districts in California receive. So with that, if you look at a $109 million budget, our property taxes cover about $78 million of that. In addition, we have a lot of community-funded programs, particularly Measure A, a lot of community support for that program, and that funds about $5.6 million. So that's still, with those two combined, leaves a shortfall of about $25.4 million and of which the rest of that is comprised with some additional local grants, local donations. But a big chunk of that, about $12.7 million, comes from our state and federal funding sources. And some of those programs that it funds are actually required programs that the district has to have. And then other ones are more supplemental programs that the district offers. Just to give you an idea of that $12.7 million, what we receive through that is everything from transportation reimbursements in the amount of $1.3 million to help fund our transportation home to school programs. We have some discretionary funding, about $350,000. Our lottery funding is considered state funding. That's approximately $1 million that we use mostly for instructional supplies in the classrooms. And then our expanded learning opportunity program, which is our after-school program that's mandated by the state. That's just about $1 million. Our title programs, which are federal programs, which are used to support our highest needs children, that's approximately $600,000. And I'm going through a long list here, but it's important to know kind of the context and what these programs actually support and what we would have to have, if we lost that funding, what we would have to absorb or get rid of. Special ed, which is a required program in the state, which the state funding and local funding does not come anywhere near supporting that. At the same time, we still get about $1.4 million in funding for not only special education, but mental health programs that are funded through the state and feds. Our food service program is all state and federal funded. That's approximately $3 million, and we're currently required to provide meals for all under the Universal Meal Program in California. In addition, in other funds outside of our general fund, we also receive a lot of funding for early learning programs in our preschool program. That's just under $1 million. So a lot of different programs are at stake here. And just to give you another picture, our reserve right now, which is kind of our safety net in the district that we try to maintain in case we do have a fiscally bad year, do not receive the increase in property taxes that we expect, is just about $14.4 million. So that loss of $12.7 million would essentially absorb the majority of our reserve and actually put us below the required reserve threshold for the state of California, which is 3% of our general fund. In addition, when we talk about losing this funding, it's not something that we could just absorb in 1 year and then be okay. We'd have to make reductions, but it's also very difficult because we cannot make reductions in enough time to really balance the budget here.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rivera. So I know we hit some of those secondary questions about where the funding is for Measure AA. That's about $5.6 million, and then the property taxes, that was about 70%. And so, board, if you have questions or want to talk a little bit about this.
Thank you for that. Thank you for all those, Todd. I think it's important that we understand sort of again, and I know that the public is not wanting to hear that we are legally bound, but when you put the amount of funds that would be taken away if we did get, if this did happen to us where we would lose their funding, not only would we lose athletics, but our whole school structure would suffer. I'm hoping that we're able to give you sort of what you want, and we're trying to give you as much information as we have. And so I'm going to pass it on to you for your last minute on that. But I really feel strongly that, it is illegal. I'm not legal, so that's why we've asked for legal input. There's things that are beyond our control, and it's bigger than just one thing. But again, the biggest thing for us as a school board is, one, to hear from you, but also we are fiduciarily we have to watch our entire district. And so it's a juggle, and there's a lot of pieces, and at this point, there's no answer, but our goal at these meetings and as we process through all of this is that to keep you as informed as you can, and I think Danielle will also sort of speak to this is that we're a team. We have to do this together. And I think you have some other points that would add to that make it more clear. But I strongly believe that we are here with you. And I did mention before that my kids were in that athletic program like 20 years ago. So I understand where we are, and I've been in this district for a long time trying to support all. And so now we're sort of at a stumbling block where it's a little bit of a challenge. And so moving on to you.
Okay, maybe I'll just back up a little bit, because I feel like in June, when we were in front of the community and we were talking about the same issues that we're talking about now, we wanted to move forward with something that wasn't a one-size-fits-all approach, which is what the state has given us. We wanted to have a path where we could move everyone together and no one was left behind. We haven't been given that. What we're faced with right now is what I see as a mandate from the state, which still doesn't address the concerns that we had about moving everyone forward together and providing that equal opportunity. And it's hard because it's being put in the terms of a discrimination action against us with corrective actions to address. And what we were hoping for was a real conversation with the state where we could take our collective voices and lift them up. Because I think our strength with our community is our ability to work together, and we are inviting the state to have that opportunity. We are asking the state to help us find a way that we can have the sports opportunities, the athletic opportunities that we want for all of our students. It is very difficult for us to manage winter sports. I mean, we don't have field houses. We are being asked to change, our seasons for our sports when we don't have, even courts for tennis. We have so many challenges. Our parents have talked about the safety concerns about going over the pass, and the continued response right now is still that everything else is about the discrimination issue, not about safety, not about anything else. And so we're still hoping to have a conversation with the state about what our opportunities are to work together. And for me, that's the biggest challenge, that I'm not saying by any means that suing the state is the right answer, because at this point, I want to have an opportunity to have that conversation. If we get into a legal action with the state, we lose that opportunity to have open dialogue. I feel like we're reaching out to the state. We've reached out to Thurman. We're going to reach out to Newsom at this point and say, can you work with us? Because we're not the only district that's going to be subject to this at some point. We had someone file a complaint. We want to make sure that we have access to sports for our students. And it's not just our specific issue, and yet we're holding the burden of that. So I think, kind of looking at responses to this question, it's not a choice we've been given. It's what we've been mandated, and we want the opportunity for our community to have an open conversation and a chance to work with the state to resolve this. So that's my hope, is that we could take sort of the collective voices that we've all shared and present those back to the state. So whether that's taking the public comment, taking the winter's proposal, all of that, and kind of packaging it and saying, please work with us, help us find alternatives, help us find solutions. And I'm really just hoping that that gets us at least an open door to have a conversation at this point.
No, thank you. And I would just say I get the benefit of being copied on emails that are being sent directly to the state, to Superintendent Thurman. So I really appreciate that honor. And we know that our community is lifting things up, and we don't want to speculate, but we did receive a very interesting response on Monday. And so I think voices are being heard. So we appreciate that. And
yeah, and maybe just to kind of build on that, it was interesting when I read that now CDE has sort of given us a different direction. And so I look at that and say, okay, well, if CDE has the power to make changes, can they work with us to make changes? Like, what do those look like? They haven't even expressed what those could be. And we're open, we're listening, we want that opportunity. And so I think this is the time now for them to come work with us.
I think, Danielle, that's an interesting thought in the sense that we have been listening to our constituents, and we've been putting into letters and comments to the state, and we haven't heard anything. And then I think this letter that came back was a bit of a surprise. I didn't expect it, but I think it is that there is some momentum that is not necessarily directed at us, that it's sort of shifted in the sense that, we're just the pawns that are getting pulled. But I don't know if that was what it took, but I do want to caution I want to compliment your comment, I guess is the right way, that getting into a sort of a fighting match with the state isn't necessarily the best method for us. And I'll leave that to you, Superintendent Kramer.
Well, that's a perfect segue of, and it's a great question. Why aren't we suing the state of California or suing NI2A? Why do we appear to be accepting the mandate and so on? So again, lots of legal. We're going to start with our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Sean Roderick, if that's okay to hear from staff a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer. So when we look at the possibility of suing the state, one thing that is the most important fact is that when the district enters into a high-stake legal battle with the CDE over noncompliance, it risks more than just money. We're losing our autonomy. And what that means is the state has the power to appoint a state trustee or an administrator if deemed to the board of following the law. What happens then is that the appointee takes the responsibility for monitoring and reviewing the school district's actions, operations, including sports. With that, the trustee will stay in place through the duration of the trustee's appointment until all conditions are met. At that time, when the trustee's in the position, the governing board retains its legal rights and duties, except for those held by the power of the trustee.
Thank you, Mrs. Roderick. And then also sharing more information about what a legal action against the state looks like will be our Executive Director of Student Services, Dr. Anna Marie Cohen.
Okay, thank you, and good evening, community. So the Student Services Department is responsible for ensuring education code prohibiting discrimination is followed. And this is part of the lens in considering the legal reality as it stands now for our students' participation in athletics. And to better understand that position, we kind of have to look and go back to the direct conflict that exists between California law and the policies of the NIAA that were changed. So it is the California Department of Education's role, and they are strictly tasked with enforcing California Education Code. Specifically in this case, it's AB 1266 and Education Code 221.5F, which mandates that students must be allowed to participate in programs and activities consistent with their gender identity. This is what is in direct conflict with the NIAA policy, which limits it to biological sex. If TTUSD were to file a lawsuit against California challenging these laws, we would essentially be asking the court for permission to break the state's anti-discrimination laws. In California, courts almost never grant school districts the authority to bypass education code, both historically and legally. The argument to discriminate against student rights has virtually zero chance of success in California courts at this time. And our legal counsel, which is DWK, presented the legal landscape to this board with a very clear conclusion in December. And the district really has no local control in this matter. So the district is legally required to follow the CDE order because the conflict is statutory. So there have also been questions about taking legal action against the NIAA directly. However, this was also determined not to be a completely viable strategy. The NIAA is a governing body in Nevada, and it operates under its own state legislative mandates. They have been very transparent with us. Their policy is designed to ensure biological males do not participate in girls' sports. They have made it clear that they will not change their rules to accommodate California's education code. And essentially, we are guests in NIAA. They do not have an obligation to include California school districts, and we do believe it's reasonable to assume that if we were to file a lawsuit against the NIAA, they would immediately cancel our invitation to play. So that basically summarizes just where we stand in looking at the foundational aspects of the anti-discrimination law, which is the reason that we ended up with the corrective actions in the first place. So.
Thanks, Dr. Cohen. Mr. Rivera, did you want to add anything more from the financial side about legal action against the state?
Yeah, just the fact that, it's not a quick battle. A lawsuit with California we'd be in it for the long haul. It would take a lot of time. It wouldn't be a quick $10,000 in legal fees and we're done. This is something that statistically we probably have very little chances of even winning, but the duration of that and the amount of legal fees that we probably would incur because of it would be in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And then still after all that to maybe not get the resolution that we're hoping for. That's money that we'd be taking directly away from classrooms and other programs in order to fund.
Thank you. I think that kind of goes back to Trustee Nishimori's, where if we can stay in the conversation with the state.
Yeah, I mean, it does make me think about, if CDE has the power to make changes, can they look at what that actually means as far as like what season sports are played? Can they tell CIF, to make specific changes that could better accommodate our students if ultimately this is the only answer that we're being presented from the state? I feel like there's opportunity there. Can they help us build field houses? Can they help us understand how to make it viable when right now we're really struggling with what that looks like? So I think that would be interesting if the state would engage with us to ask those questions.
I think that we're on a roll in the sense that we are getting some traction. We're getting some. Again, I hate to think that we're hitting a brick wall. Thank you, Cabinet, though, for the numbers is a bummer. I mean, it's definitely, and I think the comment was made that it was not a sort of a choice. This is a mandated exercise, and we have no choice but to follow it. So how do we navigate it? It's one of those things where the more information we can get out, understanding what some of the consequences are, I think makes it a clearer picture for all of us. There's no answer, but it's just a clearer picture, so then we can have a better direction as to where to go. Moving on to...
Which is the perfect segue to our next question.
I swear I didn't plan this.
Does the board support the community-initiated bill and mitigation plan submitted by Todd Winter? And we appreciate Mr. Winter very much. And he's coaching right now over at Truckee High, but his wife, Yen Winter, was willing to be here tonight. And Yen, I don't know if you want to be at the podium or just wait and see if a question comes up and pop up. Thanks for being here.
Okay, I think we'll go start with the legal aspects of all that as well, if that's okay with you, Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, so we'll have Dr. Cohen talk about it. And just so you know, we really spent a lot of time going through the plan and talking about it and trying to figure out how we could utilize this as a possible pathway forward. And we're going to start with Dr. Cohen kind of talking about the legal side of this.
Okay, so thank you, and we did thoroughly review the proposed mitigation plan, and actually appreciate very much that it did offer a logical framework for TTUSD to remain in NIAA. I mean, there were some very valid and solid points that do seem realistic. But we also must be realistic about its viability and if it actually could be implemented in a legal way. And while the board and the district share and understand, and we all understand the safety concerns that the community continues to bring up, sometimes the logical approach isn't always rooted in legality. And so we really looked at that plan, and again, going back to anti-discrimination law, feel that as it stands right now, the plan would not survive legal scrutiny or satisfy the corrective action requirements currently ordered by CDE. So to California, the fundamental problem is that they do not view AB 1266 as a flexible guideline that can be balanced against local safety concerns. So the law itself is an absolute mandate. And by forcing individual students to alternative pathways while their teammates compete in the NIAA, essentially is creating a two-tiered system. So this creates an accommodation under the guise of an accommodation that requires separate but not equal treatment. And at its core, California law would view this as inherently discriminatory. So we are facing really a core legal obstacle. The NIAA's bylaws are fundamentally incompatible with California law. California courts and the CDE are likely to categorize the mitigation plan as segregated participation. And that would actually be a direct violation of civil rights protections. So essentially no amount of local mitigation can legally replace full integrated participation in the district's primary athletic program, although we are open to suggestions if the community has suggestions for how to interpret that differently. We would love to hear that feedback. And then we essentially look closely at the language of the education code, and it guarantees a student's right to participate on athletic teams and competitions consistent with their gender identity. The law does not grant the right to alternative or substitute competitions. Providing substitute is not the same as providing the right. The mitigation plan asks TTUSD to determine an accommodation. However, we do not know of any accommodations that at their core are not rooted in discriminatory practices. If California state law were to change, or the NIAA provided specific exemptions for California school districts, this mitigation plan would be a definite and viable path forward. However, as it stands today, TTUSD can't guarantee the remedies that the plan proposes. We cannot guarantee a discrimination-free athletic experience that complies with state law under these conditions. And following the plan would knowingly place the district in a position of noncompliance with a state-mandated anti-discrimination law. So we do find ourselves at a legal impasse where our state mandate and our neighbors' athletic policies are fundamentally irreconcilable. Ultimately, our responsibility must be to follow California state law and to implement the education code as required.
Thank you, Dr. Cohen. And I do also want to just lift up the Winter family, because they recognize this, and they have sent this to the legislation as well, and understanding that really it's going to take that state level, as you heard Dr. Cohen share, either on Nevada side or California side. It was the number 3. It's that guaranteed pathway that we really just kept trying to talk through and figure out what would that look like, how would that work. So we really appreciate all the thought and the effort, and welcome, as we said, ideas for number 3. But then, board?
I just want to recognize the work that was put into this. I know you guys have busy lives, for sure. We all do at this point. And to take that on and look for those solutions, again, goes back to what our strength is in our community and our ability to problem solve and propose solutions. And so this is where I just go back to, like, the state needs to come on board and get behind the fact that we all want to make this work. We all want to have the ability to continue to have sports as we know it. And so this is one example. There are many other examples. I know there are other families who are working towards solutions too. And so our ability in helping raise those voices, I think, is where we are right now. That's sort of what we have to offer in this conversation.
Thank you. I do, when reading through all of the winter mitigation plan, and the amount of time that was spent on that was a lot. And I think that's kind of what you were alluding to in the beginning, is that if we can all come up with different solutions and use our collective voice, and again, we're not, as a board, we're not saying don't do that or that it's not right. And your answer may not be the only answer. And I appreciate, Dr. Cohen, your explanation makes it a little bit easier to understand. It's not that that we want to hear all these answers. And I think it made it clear to us, and hopefully the public as well, that this is not this is an absolute mandate. So that's something that is hard to stomach. But I also think that there is a way to sort of figure out if we can do it together. But also, I think hearing from you, it has made some headway. But I appreciate the clarity in that, just understanding sort of what we are faced against. Some of your wordings are good quotes. But the absolute mandate is a tough one, and it's not a flexible guideline, is hard. So with that, I think we've...
Yes, please. Ms.
good.
Winter would love to share, so thank you so much, Yen.
Just in regard to that mandate, I understand, I agree, you have to follow state law. And, I'll get back to the irony of all of this because of the Title IX lawsuit, the federal lawsuit. So I guess CD is in your position in the federal lawsuit. They are not complying with what the DOJ's investigation said. You are violating Title IX because you are not guaranteeing girls the same equal opportunity in sports. That's the lawsuit, and they are, and California has sued back, right? But I didn't see anything in the December discussion about the implications of that. What is at the heart of that federal court case is 221F. The exact law that CDE is trying to enforce against you is the exact law that the federal government has said violates Title IX. So I think a new strategy, perhaps. And all of this, when we were coming up with solutions, we understood you have to follow your guidelines as the board. I get that. I am not an expert in education law. I've become one. No. But it means, I don't think, and we don't think that any move to CIF is reasonable under state or federal law. I understand that's the interpretation that the mandate takes, but the mandate itself is unlawful. And I think that we've laid that out in administrative law. It is an administrative law agency. Their mandates have to be based on findings. And in this case, they made 0 findings about safety. You presented that. They can't ignore that record. You can... That's what we were trying to pursue, is the administrative avenue. They denied a request for reconsideration. That's at the administrative level. If they deny it, you've exhausted all of your administrative remedies. You go to state court. You go and you say, look, their mandate is unlawful. They didn't have the authority to mandate this because through this mandate, if you were to implement it, you would be violating the same state laws against another class of students. And you are stuck in a hard place. You're either going to violate the law in one instance or you're going to violate it in the other instance, but the court will be able to balance that. They're going to balance all of the current students who've come up before you. And we aren't saying that a future transgender student doesn't have the same right to play. That's not it, but it's the balancing of the rights. And we're not trying to say don't comply. I don't think we've ever said, hey, state, go pound sand, we don't agree with you, you have to follow what they're saying, but you're not stuck and you're not going to run up against a brick wall because you have legal options. You have viable legal arguments which we've set forth. I would love to have a conversation with your council, but I find it very frustrating that council didn't consider the implications of this federal court case that was filed back in July 2025. And when they presented it here, I mean, it triggers everything here. It is very relevant, and whatever happens in that case will affect what happens here, because if the CDE loses, they cannot enforce that provision, and therefore that mandate can't be enforced. It's not lawful. So if you were to move pending this whole, federal court litigation, and they lose, what would we have done? We can't undo a move to CIF. And all of the students that will have been a part of this, they will have lost their season. And that is absolutely a loss of meaningful participation. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. And even a move to CIF, I don't think that the Department of Education really understands that a transgender student would also be subject to the same safety concerns, because we know there's probably 60 days of the year where the freeway might close. We're going to cancel. Are we going to send our kids on a bus when there's a storm? No. So then the games will be canceled. Everybody will lose meaningful participation. So I think, respectfully, I disagree with your council's conclusion that case law or legal precedent would deny us the equal access that we're asking for here by staying in the NIAA.
Thank you for that.
And I do think that the reconsideration of our extension, I think, I wonder, again, we're speculating, but that does give us all some time to see what happens at the federal level with the Supreme Court cases and the current cases as well.
I was just wondering if our legal counsel's kind of looking at this with the recent, I don't know if there's been a recent action that came out of that litigation or anything. I mean, I know they've been following it, but I feel like sometimes when there's difference of opinions of attorneys, sometimes we bring in another one. I don't know if there's benefit to that, but maybe there's a different expert out there, I guess,
They
to ask
are
that question.
calling in, right. They're watching a case in Washington State that may have relevance. They're definitely looking at the different cases as well. But that we know right now that because this is an anti-discrimination law, that if we tried to go to a judge, we couldn't show that we could prevail because that discrimination law, it's the state law. But I think, that's why in June, we also recommended the delay was just this legal landscape is so, we're uncertain at this point. And so, oh yeah, of course.
I forgot. So with regard to that, given that the legal landscape is very uncertain and the law at issue is the very law that CDE is trying to enforce, there is also the option of requesting an abeyance of that mandate because the law is unclear. So this case, the case against the CDE could go to the Court of Appeals, and then it would end up, could go to the Supreme Court. But in the interim, and this happens all the time, if there is an institution that doesn't know what to do, they're kind of stuck in the middle, you ask, look, there's pending litigation that has a direct impact on what we have to do. So please, hold this in abeyance, essentially. But you could ask the CDE. They recognize that I would be shocked if they didn't. And potentially that could be a way to comply. It's not that you're not complying with state law, but it's impossible for you to comply with state law. It's an impossibility, and that is also a defense to this. So just things to consider. I don't think that we're stuck in this box that it's been represented to you that the only option is to move to CIF. You are trying to do that. That is, you have to show that you've considered it, and what does a move to CIF look like? What are your options? What happens, like Ashley Gillis, the soccer coach said, what happens in the worst case scenario? I mean, talk about losing money. If a child gets hurt and God forbid, someone is killed, the risk. I don't know that a jury wouldn't, bankrupt us. So these are the things that we have to consider as well. You are opening yourself up to a lot of liability if we just sit and just do nothing. And, having a conversation with the state is helpful, but because this item is in a procedural administrative process, you have to go through the administrative process. So even if you were to have a conversation with Superintendent Thurman, it still has to flow from the administrative process. So the direct investigations office would have to take some action. And so potentially file another, request for reconsideration because there's new facts that weren't considered in the underlying mandate. And that mandate only flowed from one set of facts that the CDE ignored, one set of facts to reach the outcome that it did. But there might be a different outcome if they were to actually do an analysis of the safety issues. Not one word about safety was in that investigation report. And I can tell you that would be open for attack because there's evidence in there. You said that in even your request for reconsideration, but they never responded to that. And so that is the basis for overturning that on the basis of an arbitrary decision. They acted arbitrarily. So that is something but you would have to go to state court to do if the CDE continues to deny and they close their doors to you. That is an option, and it's a valid legal question that a court would consider. It's not a frivolous claim. Okay. So, thank you.
No, thank you for sharing your expertise. Are you ready for the next?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops, sorry, yes. The next one, can TTUSD address rumors that football can remain in the NI2A? We have experts that would like to answer that question for us.
And this is very interesting because it will kind of get back to what Trustee Nishimori was saying. So it's moot now because we know all sports programs are staying in NIAA for next school year. However, we were going to have Principal John Newberger come up and help me because they're more of the athletics scheduling expert. So the rumor most likely was based on the CDE's December 22nd response to our proposed transition plan. In the CDE's response, they mentioned, this is the quote from their letter, if your revised response proposes that the district remain in NI2A next year for tackle football, please confirm that under NI2A rules, the district will be able to accommodate students of any gender or gender identity in that sport. I think everyone was a little surprised by that, and this would be because CDE talked a lot with CIF and Commissioner Garrison. And so Mr. Newberg's going to talk about football and football scheduling and what makes football a unique sport and why this particular law wouldn't apply. All right, Mr. Newberger, take it away.
All right. Good evening, everybody. So just to start out, obviously, establish it again, NIAA, we are staying in the NIAA for next year, so this part of the conversation is still moot, but football is a non-sex segregated sport. That means that any high school age students, regardless of sex, with appropriate grades, schedule, health clearance, they're able to play. Therefore, that law really doesn't impact football specifically, but football, kind of speaking to the scheduling piece, unlike other sports, it's only played once a week. from all levels, from Pop Warner up to the NFL. It's once a week. And that helps reduce injury. It allows time for recovery. And so that once a week playtime is supported by the National Federation of High School Sports. That's the group that governs both the NIAA and the CIF. So both those groups follow NFHS rules. So in most other sports, athletes can play, 2-3 games a week. Therefore, when the CDE was directing us to immediately join the CIF, with those other sports, non-football sports, those teams could have potentially added an extra game in a week to fit in TTUSD, North Tahoe Truckee High School's non-football sports. So that was possible for sports like soccer, volleyball, basketball, baseball, and so forth. Then there's other sports to consider like cross country, wrestling, snow sports, golf and swimming, and track. Those sports are more individual in nature, but they still conform to team operations parameters. So those sports can hold multi-team events, therefore more easily fitting in Truckee and North Tahoe schools. An example of that would be our Truckee High Ponderosa cross-country race. There's 12 teams that show up to that. Bob Schaefer Track Classic in the spring, there's almost, I think, 21 teams that come to that. Wrestling has confusing name, but it's a tri-dual. There's 3 dual meets that happen at the same time at one school. So those are some examples. All right. What else we got here? Oh, okay. So nationwide, public and private high school football programs basically commit to a 2-year scheduling cycle for both home and away. Basically, the goal is to ensure the 10 games, 5 home, 5 away every year. Schools also do arrange in football and all sports, actually, non-league games that does apply to postseason standings. So about probably 95% of the football schedule is arranged 2 years in advance. And you hold to that, hold to your schedule. So an abrupt move to the CIF would have left the football team without a schedule at all, which, as we've discussed, wasn't an option for anybody in the room. So because football is a non-sex segregated, the NIA and the CIF made the agreement to allow Truckee and North Tahoe to continue their 26-27 football schedules when we were being forced to move to the NIA for the 26-27 school year. But now that's not happening. We're still in the NIAA for the 26-27 school year, if my years are correct. Okay. Yeah, so that's the rundown.
Thank you very much, Principal Neuberger. And what was interesting when we were talking about this, and just so you know, the board, that was a non-starter. That was unacceptable to them. And as you know, we wrote back and said we have to have the 2-year delay. We don't want to enter mid-cycle. We don't want this unpredictable schedule for any of our sports, and we can't have a non-football program, tackle football program. But this is an example of with CIF is under CDE, and so CDE knew this was a problem, and so here we were where we've tried other times, and you guys can help me with this, to have one of our sports be pulled out to be inside CIF and the rest be in NI2A, correct? We've tried that a few times, and they always say no. So this was very interesting. So going back to Trustee Nishimori, that if we, with CDE, with the state level, that's really where the power is, where change can happen. And so we just found that was interesting, but thank you for answering. I know it was moot. Any questions for Principal Neuberger?
I don't have any questions, but I just struggle with, I feel like we get ping-ponged, different answers from CDE, and if there really is an interest in problem-solving this with us, then we need those conversations, right? We're just not having those.
We've had the discussion of trying to move one sport to the CIF before in recent time, in the past 6 years or so. One was football having the discussion, but before that, it was skiing, alpine skiing, and generally speaking, I don't know why I said that. No, 100% of the time, NIA has said if you are taking one sport, you're taking them all. And so they have passed standing for that.
Well, thank you very much. Okay. And just to be clear again, all sports are in NI2A for next school year, 26-27. Thank you. And then we just wanted to share, we thank you so much to the community for using the question form. I do want to speak, we did get a public comment from one of our community members that found the question form challenging. It wasn't working. It's a Google form, so we know sometimes if you're not a Google person. So if that is ever the case, please feel free to email me directly or my assistant Lapita or the boardroom, and then we'll make sure we just get that in our spreadsheet. If the form doesn't work, we don't want that to be a barrier. So I apologize that community member had trouble getting their questions submitted. But we kind of looked at the next set of questions. There's been a lot of questions about the other districts in the Eastern Sierra that can be in Nevada, so we'll touch on that next month. Fiscal impacts, and then travel safety, as you know, has been a big topic. Looking at loss of instructional time, and then the scholarship opportunities. We'll make sure those topics we hit at the upcoming meetings. But we did want to close by having Principal of Truckee High, John Newberger, come back up, and North Tahoe High School Assistant Principal Jason Fleesock come up and just kind of close us out and talk about CIF and next steps. And again, our target for our mandated switch is 28-29.
Yeah, and just kind of to circle back to this, you know, at the site level, really our goal when we have these discussions is, and as you guys can imagine, there's quite a bit of groundwork and nuts and bolts work that has to go into a transition like this. And so really our top priority at each school site is to maintain continuity and access to all of our existing sports programs to the greatest extent possible. And at the same time, exploring opportunities to enhance and expand any athletic offerings when they come up. So we know the district will soon be forming a community athletic committee, and we look forward to partnering with families there as we work through questions, concerns, exploring solutions to some of these problems that have been coming up in multiple board meetings over time. We also are planning to host school information sites soon at each high school site. We have not really had the chance yet to engage our parent communities as a site to kind of go over some of the logistical pieces that go into an athletic transition. So we look forward to hosting that, where our parent communities can hear from our athletic administration about the logistics of a CIF move and some of the site-based preparation that we have to do behind the scenes to prepare for something like that. So that would include topics like scheduling, division alignment, sports seasons, any potential new offerings for sports, league membership, student safety and travel considerations, where our parent community can get a sense of what we already do when it comes to trip planning and safety, weather impacts, particularly through winter and spring seasons. We look at eligibility requirements, postseason play, what it looks like in a different association, and other related factors. So we definitely welcome the engagement from our parent communities and our families there at our school sites so that any questions or concerns can be addressed directly with them, in addition to any committee membership that occurs moving forward. So we hope to share these details soon with our parent communities and offer different opportunities to share their voice and opportunities to get involved as well.
No,
Thank you very much. Board, any more questions or comments? Otherwise, we would switch to community public comment.
No, I actually do want to say that before we open this up to the public that has written on here, there have been a great number of you that have submitted, and I know that Superintendent Kramer and I do try to just respond and say thank you for writing. We will try to answer your questions. If for some reason we don't, as we saw, we have a list of those that we're trying to continually answer. Please know that some of the questions that come, we don't have the answer right away, but don't feel like you can't write to us, because we definitely need to hear from you. And with that, There she is. I saw Hannah Hill leave, and I was like, don't leave, we're just about to start. At this point, we will open up to public comment. I do have 14 on here. If you have not signed up and you want to speak, please let me know, and we'll add you to this. And you have 3 minutes on your mic, and please state your name as you start, and make sure the green button is on. Thank you, Hannah.
Okay.
Who's coming? Up next is going to be Matt Hippler.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hannah Hill, and I am the student body vice president of North Tahoe Middle School. As a student athlete who dreams of achieving high in my sports, with this transfer to CIF, many local Tahoe athletes entering high school, as of this fall, including myself, will no longer be able to play their sports. With this transfer to CIF, some of the fall sports we have right now will move to winter sports. With that, many teams, such as our girls' soccer league, will no longer have an area for practice because of our harsh winter conditions, so we will no longer be able to train. I myself play soccer and I am a track runner. Switching from fall to winter will not only give me less of an opportunity to train and compete in soccer, but I also cannot do both because they overlap. Most importantly, the stretch over Donner Summit we will have to take regularly to compete against these Sacramento teams will put many of our athletes in danger, with buses trying to plow through heavy snowstorms. Are you guys willing to risk the safety of your students by not taking legal action against this forced move, or are you okay with these sports potentially ending, leading to athletes not having the opportunity they very much deserve to excel? Are we planning on having an indoor facility so that we are able to practice our sports by the time this transition is final and while our fields are covered in snow? As many of you are probably aware, because of this switch, many students that are in the T2SD district will be leaving the district in order to stay in NIAA or to avoid the risk of losing their sport altogether. Talking with the people in my grade, we are all planning on what we want to do our high school years to look like, the sports we play, the courses we take, and where we want to plan on going after high school. Later this month, we will begin to pick our classes for going into high school, a new chapter for all of us. Since the moment I started at North Tahoe Middle School, I've been knowing what I wanted to do, hope to do, and put the hard work to make it possible to do for my high school years. Switching now would end many of these dreams and hopes for high school, not only for myself, but for many of my friends and classmates. As of last night, I am aware that the CDE is planning on giving us a year before transitioning. But this is not a long-term, safe, and equitable solution for all the student athletes I am representing here today. I believe that there is more fight within us as a district and in you as a school board, and I pray that you make the right decision leading towards the success and safety for all the student athletes that are in your district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Hannah. And after Matt Hippler, please, and then after Matt will be Sean Breaker.
Good evening. My name is Matt Hippler. I've lived in Truckee for 27 years. My wife is a district employee. She grew up in Truckee, and our 2 children graduated from Truckee High School. I was previously appointed by the board and served for several years on the Measure U Citizens Oversight Committee, and I'm also an attorney licensed in California and Nevada with my practice focusing on litigation. There's universal support in the community to continue to compete in the NIAA for a multitude of reasons, and I'm here tonight asking the board to lead by taking on the root cause of this situation, the NIAA policy targeting the privacy of student athletes. The policy does not target transgender athletes, it targets all athletes by invading their fundamental right to privacy. I stand with all athletes who want to protect their privacy, including transgender athletes, and who believe that the NIAA's invasive policy of being required to have your anatomy checked by a doctor should not be a prerequisite to play sports. The policy violates the Nevada Constitution, which explicitly says that you can't discriminate based on sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression. I contacted the Nevada ACLU in December, and it's ready to sue to have the policy deemed unconstitutional and to also seek injunctive relief. The ACLU can be the district's free attorney, but the ACLU needs a plaintiff, and the district can be that plaintiff. After I contacted the ACLU, I emailed your attorney, Mr. Jewel Darlington, on December 11th, letting him know that the ACLU would love to talk. I never heard from him, which was disappointing because, as has been mentioned tonight, it's important to explore all legal options. Suing the state of California is a fool's errand for all the reasons stated tonight. Although I learned today that the district got a one-year reprieve from California, this only delays moving to the CIF. The district can still remain in the NIA if it takes on the root cause of the situation, which is the policy. Now is the time to act. I only learned of the NIA's threat to disinvite the district tonight. Was that threat in writing, or was it a verbal conversation? You should disclose the nature of that threat because it's important to be transparent. Also, if the policy is deemed unconstitutional, there's no reason for the NIAA to carry through with that threat. I urge the board to approach this situation anew and contact the ACLU to explore all of its options, the NIAA threat notwithstanding. Finally, I say to students and their parents, if you're a student athlete, you too can be a plaintiff in seeking to strike down the NIAA policy. You can contact me at my personal email at mbhipp@hotmail.com, and I'm happy to talk to any parents, or you can contact the ACLU directly. To be clear, any student athlete can be a plaintiff. You don't have to be a transgender athlete. You just have to attack the policy that violates your privacy. Whether you are supportive of transgender athletes or whether you simply want to continue to compete at NIAA, there's a large enough tent for everyone to come together and support attacking the NIAA policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt. After Sean will be Colleen Connors, please.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent. My name is Sean Bratcher. I have two sons at Truckee High. While I know that the year-long delay that was announced yesterday sounds like a relief, it is not. No amount of delay or planned orderly transition will retain our high school sports as we know them if we move to CIF. I would encourage the board to vote publicly in open session about their direction in this matter so we can have a glimpse into what is happening behind the scenes. I would also encourage you to not comply with this order, to resist. There almost certainly will be retaliation and consequences for such a decision. We are here for it. We are ready to fight. We are ready for this to get messy. Every punishment against the district raises the profile of this issue in the media. I'm asking for you to be brave for our kids and take a principled stand against a directive that will put our kids' safety at risk, as well as their ability to have any sort of meaningful, competitive sports program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. After Colleen will be Joseph Methorn, or Methorn. I got it. Sorry.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Colleen Connors. I'm a long-term resident and mother of two student athletes, a sophomore and an eighth grader. My youngest, an avid soccer player with dreams of playing college. I want to thank you for the open transparency this evening. What I had prepared, I'm not going to actually speak to most of. I would have liked to see this sooner. I think that this is exactly what we've been asking for, so I appreciate it and really thank you for that change. One thing I would like to share, though, is it's been interesting. The voices cited as the basis for this move have been absent. We are told this transition protects transgender student athletes, yet we haven't heard from them in this forum. I welcome to hear that if there is some. So we are making a decision based on a voice that I'm not sure exists. Meanwhile, you have heard from current students, students with disabilities, parents, and coaches. They've shared our concern of safety, the need for meaningful competition, the mental challenges of long travel, and unexpected delays. So I would challenge us to find those other voices. Let's bring them to the table, because I'm not sure we're making a decision that is founded on something that is a reality in our community at this point in time. So again, thank you. Again, thank you for the transparency this evening. It helped a lot.
Thanks, Thank you, Colleen. Joseph Methorn.
I'm not going to waste your time. You guys said everything. I support the Winters and everything she said.
Thank you, Joseph. Todd Wolf.
Okay.
Same here. Thank you very much, Todd. Mimi. I think Mimi spoke already, if I'm not mistaken. Jared Johnson? Yeah. Thank you, Jared.
And I just wanted to thank the board for all your hard work. I know you guys have been putting in so many hours on this. and we all appreciate it so much. And, I think nobody wants to discriminate against any of our kids. And, that's such a major issue. But I think with discrimination, too, you have to look at the definition of discrimination, and it's the unjust treatment of individuals that manifest indirect or indirect exclusion. And if you look what's going to happen to the kids, I've got a 10-year-old, she loves soccer, and to these kids that are going to now have to go play against kids that have green soccer fields that they can practice on versus our kids who are not going to be able to practice. They're not going to be able to play soccer. These kids are going to give up. They're not going to want to sit on the bus and go down there and play this. I mean, this is like, you think about the small number of kids that could be discriminated against that don't get to play the sport with their gender versus all the kids in Truckee. How many is it going to be? Hundreds of them? 1,000 that are not going to want to play sports. Nobody's going to want to sit on the bus and go all the way to Sacramento. They're going to do other things. They're going to, find video games. They're going to give up sports. And that is discrimination. So you guys should just think about that. It'd be nice too, it'd be great if you guys, I don't know if it'd be possible to do a poll of parents and the support of staying in the NIAA. But I just think if you did that, you would be amazed at the community. We do not want to go to the CIF. No way, no how. And whatever you guys can do to fight that, we got your back. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Carol Patton is still here. Okay, and Beth McNeil. Britta and Nikki both have left, and Ava? I'm here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ava Cockrum. I go to Truckee High School and I am on the track team. So to me, this situation I feel like began because of a complaint by one individual who, one, doesn't even attend TTUSD schools or doesn't have anyone who associates with TTUSD schools, yet that complaint now seems to carry more weight than the voices of students and families who actually live with the consequences. The main concern is student safety. CIF competition requires travel over Donner Summit during winter storms, chain controls, road closures, and late nights. Varsity athletes already get home late. CIF students or CIF schedules would push that to even later, increasing risk. These dangers aren't temporary and they won't go away. The other part that doesn't make sense to me is South Tahoe High School. South Tahoe is a Nevada school or a California school, but they compete in Nevada. And while they are not part of our district, staying in the NIAA violates that state law, then that logic should apply to them too. Geographically, we are closer to Nevada competition. TTUSD has already left CIF once because of travel was unsafe, and those conditions haven't changed. So my question is simple. Why does one complaint matter more than the voices of students who actually attend these schools? I urge this board to continue prioritizing student safety and common sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Ava. Was there any other public that wanted to speak? Charlie?
I'll follow my daughter, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's Emma.
Okay, Chris.
I don't know if I have to restate my name. I'm Emma Brown. I don't have a big speech. Everyone's kind of already said all their logic, but I just wanted to add on to the fact that over the course of this season, I got to know a lot of the girls on the varsity soccer team, and they're all insanely passionate about skiing. And if we even are able to make this move over to the winter sports, we're going to lose at least 3/4 of our team. even the possibility of being able to transfer, we're probably not going to be able to continue it because we will lose so many players. And I don't want to speak for anybody because I love skiing, but I don't take it that seriously. I don't want to like speak for them, but I'm pretty sure that knowing how serious that they are and like traveling to Chile this year, they will choose skiing. We're kind of screwed if we do that. So I just think that that's another reason for our sports. Yeah.
Thank you. Chris, thanks.
Thank you very much. Chris Brown, parent of Emma and another
Oh, Emma, I called you
TTUS.
Charlie.
Emma. Charlie
Why
Brown,
was I
not
doing
Charlie
that?
Brown.
Maybe that's why. You didn't even correct me, Em. I called you Charlie. What was I thinking?
I just wrote it too. Charlie Brown. Why did you answer? What am I? Emma. Jeez. You really have a yellow shirt on. Okay, let's try again.
So I don't want to repeat a lot of what everyone already said, and I think what a lot of us and most of us here already know. This move is going to be devastating to our sports programs. It's very ironic that in the name of protecting opportunity, the CDE issued an order that is going to absolutely demolish opportunity, including for the very students it's intended to protect. What good is it to move to CIF if a transgender student wants to play soccer, for example, if the team completely falls apart as a result of this move? A limited legal challenge is viable, I think, in state court along the lines that Hien mentioned earlier. It's just not a well-reasoned decision. It did not take into account the factors here. And I do hear what staff has had to say and what you guys are contending with in terms of this being a discrimination law. There's a legal challenge to that law pending. I think I stood here back in June or somewhere and said the same point. You know, there's a lot of fighting going on at the federal level in a lot of different courts right now. This law is under attack. It may eventually be changed or fail completely. I don't think we're going to get the wrath of CDE or anybody else by filing a lawsuit that is a legal challenge. It's a challenge. It's a legal challenge to make to the decision making, not to attack the underlying law. That law is already under attack, and we don't need to get into that fight. We don't have anything to add to that fight that's not already happening at the federal level and elsewhere. But we can try to get a stay or an abeyance, and I think it's an extremely rational lawsuit to file. It can be done respectfully, and it can just say, hey, our hands are tied. We don't know which way to go. We have very real harms that are going to be suffered by our students and families, including safety issues. So I just want to piggyback on what Hien had to say and just say that legal counsel should really try to take a fresh look at that option. Thank you.
Hire them as legal counsel.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. As always, we appreciate that, and I know there are people that are on the outside watching, and I hope that you are able to get some of your questions answered. At this point, this will close the public comment on item number 11.1. I do believe we've given you some direction as to what we will do the next time there are questions that we will address. There's a lot more things to look at. Appreciate all of your input and your support. As we transition into our superintendent's report, district update, 11.2.
Thank you, President Driller. And I kept it brief because I knew that we'd have a lot going on. And thanks, everyone, for coming tonight. So just a reminder that our elementary preview nights are coming up. It's time to welcome our youngest learners to TK and kindergarten. The first one is coming up on February 26th at Tahoe Lake. And then you can see the dates there. So we're just excited to have our students enroll and kick off all those great preview nights. And then I just want to thank our students, one of which is Lily, who joined us for our Parent Superintendent Advisory Committee meetings. It's very helpful, as we know, to have the student voice. And we had a Parent Superintendent Advisory meeting committee meeting last week, and it was great because we had just sent out that communication about the immigration enforcement and our communication, and the kids had great questions, and we made the connection between if we have anyone on campus with firearms that is being unpredictable or non-compliant, of course, they're not coming in the building, and that we would use our ALICE training. And so the students really appreciated thinking about they actually have a lot of knowledge and skills and understand the lockdown, so kind of putting those two pieces together. But it was great to hear from the students and their concerns, and they do worry about safety with that. So really, that's all I wanted to share. Lots of amazing things going on at our school sites. I know that we're spending a lot of time talking about athletics, which is important, but great learning is happening at the schools, and we appreciated our showcase tonight. So unless there's any questions, that concludes my update.
Nope, thank you for that. Appreciate it being short and sweet, but no, good timing. I like the way we're timing things. 12.0 is a resolution, Superintendent Kramer?
And for this, we'll turn to Dr. Cohen.
All right, thank you. Tonight, I am presenting resolution number 182526, National School Counseling Week. School counselors are an integral part of the academic and social emotional teams within TTUSD, and we are fortunate to have them assigned at each of our schools. They advocate for students and are actively committed to helping them explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to social emotional, academic success, and career awareness. Our counselors work alongside teachers and other educators to help students realize their full potential, set healthy, optimistic goals for themselves, and explore future educational and career paths. They also help families focus on academic, career, and social emotional development of their children. And furthermore, school counselors seek to utilize community resources that complement our comprehensive school counseling programs, enabling all students to achieve success in school and become productive members of society. Based on this tremendous impact, it is staff's recommendation that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 18/2025-2026 to recognize the critical work of our school counselors and proclaim National School Counseling Week, February 2nd through the 6th, 2026.
Thank you for that stunning update. Listen, thank you very much. Though I do think that we are so fortunate that we have. So sorry about that, but we have so many counselors in our schools. Like everywhere you talk to, there's not that many counselors in the schools that other schools. And so how fortunate that we are able to have that. And digressing a little bit, the other entity that I work with there's other programs that I work with where the kids that come to our program don't have this. And I was like, well, what do you do at school? And they don't, we don't have that. So really lucky. I think that they deserve the whole year, but we'll give them this week. Are there any other comments from the board?
I agree, it's critical work, and I feel like it provides such an opportunity for students to have, sort of a sounding board and a resource and a way to learn and grow in such a positive way. So I love that we get to recognize them.
With that, would anyone care to make a motion to this resolution 18?
Okay, I can make it. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 18/2025-26, National School Counseling Week.
I'll second. All in favor?
She seconded.
Oh, she seconded. I didn't even hear that.
And she just said aye.
Oh, thank you. Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Kirsten.
We'll make it work.
You did it before me. Thank you for that. Moving to 13.0, business services.
And for this item, we'll turn to Mr. Rivera.
Thank you. So tonight, we ask you to consider awarding the bid and approving the contract with AMS.net to provide UPS equipment under the E-rate program. UPS is for uninterruptible power supplies, and those are units that we utilize, and Ed can correct me if I'm wrong, in the event of a power outage. It keeps our network up and running for about an hour until it it finally dissipates. But we had started a project last year to replace quite a few of the UPS units, but we didn't replace them all. So this is kind of following up and replacing the additional units that we didn't replace last year. And this is funded under the E-rate program. The E-rate is a federal program that has two different categories. The Category 1 program is provides us with discounts on our internet service. And then there's a Category 2 program, which is specifically for equipment and infrastructure for our network and for the school sites. And with that, this is kind of utilizing the last of our Category 2 money through E-rate. We had about $12,000, $13,000 left from the last cycle, which went through 2025-26. And E-rate does fund approximately 60% of this, so the total contract is $12,311.50, and E-rate will cover about just under $7,400 of that, and then we'll be responsible for just under $5,000. And then good news, we actually received another cycle of Category 2, so we'll be doing some more infrastructure upgrades in the future. We have about $799,000 in Category 2 funding to spend for the years 2026 through 2031.
Like that, extra money, thank you. I did chuckle when it said UPS. I was like, oh my goodness, are we taking over the post office? But no, that's always, and I think how important that is to have for us up here in Tahoe when we do lose power on a regular basis. So hats off to us for being proactive. Any comments from the board on that item? This is an action item, so would you care to make a motion to approve the resolution?
I will make a motion.
I mean, not a resolution, contract.
I will make a motion to award the bid and approve contract with AMS.net to provide UPS equipment under the E-rate program.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We did it.
Got it now. Thank you, Kristen. 14.0 donations, Superintendent Kramer.
And for both of these items, the donation and grant, we will turn to Mrs. Roderick, but they're both actions, so one at a time.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer. Good evening, President Driller, Board of Trustees, and community. For your consideration this evening, I present a generous donation of $1,500 from the Rotary Club of Truckee. As we have received several donations to this wonderful opportunity, I wanted to share a little more with you about the funds they are supporting. Students in Ms. Herrera's CTE Forestry and Natural Resource class worked all first semester on the Wolf documentary project. This project was brought to our attention by local and Western state professionals to document the increase in wolf activity in and around Nevada, Sierra, and Plumas counties. The students spent hours interviewing ranchers, locals, and professionals. They then took their concepts to make a documentary. This hope is to pose questions about our wolf activity in our region and what it means for those living and farming in the surrounding areas. Our students will start in Yellowstone to support wolf tracking in their region with 2 well-known park guides. They then will travel to Missoula to premiere their wolf documentary at the International Wildlife Film Festival. The students will also serve as panelists conducting research and documenting local wolf populations in our region. As a staff recommendation, the Board of Trustees accepts this generous donation from the Rotary Club of Truckee.
Thank you. I just wrote that down, that I needed to go to Grass Valley at the end of February to see what they're doing. I'll just speak quickly, though, that just amazing the amount of community support for this project and the amount of hard work from that whole school, but primarily their teacher who's put forth all this effort to get these donations and grants, and I'm impressed. Like, I am very impressed. I can't wait. I wish I was going to Montana. Any other comments from the board?
I watched the trailer, and then I sent it out to other people, and immediately was like, when do I get to watch the full documentary? So I hope that we'll have a presentation on that so that we can advertise it in the community, because it's a real issue, and we had a wolf tracking in Truckee for the first time, and then somehow ended up quickly in Floreston because they move fast, but it's a real issue. I'm friends with ranchers out in the valley, and so I really appreciate the way that the documentary, at least in the trailer already, has sort of balanced perspectives. So I think it'll be great to watch. Yeah.
The trailer was good. I think it's fun, and I do think that they said that they're, what was it, that they are, well, yeah, anyway, I agree. I will send it on too, but I'm actually, again, back to connecting it with reality, like a real task at hand and something that's pertinent to our community. Again, it's that whole community voice, so appreciate that. This is an action, and would someone care to make a motion for this donation?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to accept the donation, thankfully, to the Rotary Club of Truckee for the Wolf Project documentary at Sierra High School.
Thank you, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving to grants 15.0.
Mrs. Roderick?
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer. For your consideration this evening, I present a generous $1,000 grant from an anonymous donor. This grant will support students to the Wolf Project documentary in Montana. It is the staff's recommendation. The Board of Trustees accepts this generous grant from the anonymous donor in the amount of $1,000.
Thank you for that. Again, hats off to that team. This is any comments?
I was just thinking that I don't know where they're at with their fundraising, but if they do end up at a spot where there's a gap, I hope they come and present that to the board so that the community can hear if they need additional funding to support them being able to go to the film festival, because it's such a unique opportunity.
At last check, they were very close to their target amount. I'll share that with
that's
Mr.
amazing.
Santos.
Okay, sounds great.
I'm impressed with their outreach. I think we need to get them on board. But that is an action item, so.
I'll go ahead and accept the grant from the anonymous donor for the Wolf Project documentary at Sierra High School.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving to 16.0, association report, Superintendent Kramer.
And no one here from CSCA tonight, but we're happy to have Mrs. Erin Lefevers, the president of TTA, here to give us an update. Welcome, Ms. Lefevers.
Those are like the old day board meetings, sitting here. Oh, mercy. So good evening. It's, I think it's still evening. We haven't moved in those after midnight movies or board meetings we used to have. So we were looking around. I'm not quite sure where winter went, but my husband and I were talking. Track season starts February 14th, so I am sure we will have some snow by then. Doesn't help us now with our ski races and stuff, but it's a standard thing. I was actually teasing our head coach, and I said, Jordy, why don't you just schedule a practice like next week, and we'll just go. It'll happen. CTA is running a signature gathering campaign among its members for Proposition 55. And 55 is already on the books. It's an extension of the tax on the people making over $300,000 and up. Right now, TTUSD receives about a little over $700,000 from this proposition. So CTA is really trying to push to get this on the ballot in 2026, later this year. We have, so our site reps are polling their members. CTA is confident that if they can get 85% of members throughout the state, it will be on the ballot. So we don't have to do a whole big push until it becomes necessary to push for the vote on there. So that is what kind of we're focusing on now. We do have a little bit of a struggle with, and Todd's well aware of this, of the HSA that we switched to for our insurance. We have members who are having money taken out of paychecks but not making it into their HSA accounts, and so they're trickling in, and I know Todd's office has fielded quite a few of those, and they get quickly cleared up, but it was something unexpected. So some of our members have been out at doctor's offices thinking they had money, and there's no money in their account. So we appreciate how it's being handled and with that, but and I was going to bring it up a little bit more on with our board cabinet next week on kind of some solutions. And then I did get one shout out from Tahoe Lake. They did a ski day at Palisades, and everybody, of course, had fun out there. The PE classes are also finishing up their Olympic unit because, we got to represent. And just in time for the opening ceremonies. And then the last thing Tahoe Lake said is they love their new-to-them counselor. She has done some great things on their campus, and they are so excited to have her. And lastly, I am just looking forward to rooting on those local athletes that we have out there for the Olympics. It'll be fun to try to capture some of those competitions out there. So, well.
Thank you. Aaron, I am going to give Truckee they should do a shout out. They came to to Alpine, and I didn't hear that, and I did not lose any of them. No one got hurt. I'm a little upset with Truckee right now. Yeah, this is true, they had to. Thank you for that, Aaron. And I did know, Melissa, I did speak to her earlier, and she said she was not able to make it tonight.
That's okay.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda, is there any items that need to be moved from the consent agenda from cabinet or you?
Not from staff.
And the board okay with consent as presented? As we look through all of them, they are basically the things that we've talked about before. They're adoptions of the criminal laws classes, the recreation class, field trips. So at this point, would anyone care to make a motion to approve the consent as presented?
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving to 19.0, first read, board policy. Superintendent Kramer.
Yes, and for both of these, Dr. Cohen will be presenting them. And the first one is an info action, and the second one's info only. So Dr. Cohen?
Okay, thank you. So tonight I'm presenting for info and action a proposal to delete Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 5145.13, Response to Immigration Enforcement. This proposal comes as the regulation is too narrowly focused on students, given the new law, which is Assembly Bill 495, 2025. This expands the requirement to develop policies in response to immigration enforced to encompass protections for staff with significant amount of material added to a new board policy, which I will be presenting next, and Administration Regulation 1445. This new regulation will be presented as the next agenda item. It is staff's recommendation the board approve the deletion of board policy and administrative regulation 5145.13, response to immigration enforcement. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that. I did ask on that one what was going on, so that's thank you very much. And I appreciate apparently it was just so much to change that it was just easier to make a cleaner sweep. So appreciate that. This is an action item. Any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to recognize, I did go to a session at CSBA that was wholly focused on immigration enforcement. And my takeaway from that was having really strong policies in place that are predictable and understandable is a necessity right now. And so although I don't love that we have to have this conversation and have these policies, I think that it's the best way for us to set ourselves up for success if we have a situation that arises and everyone knows sort of what they're responsible for, and it's just predictable. So I appreciate that we're seeing this sooner than later, just because I feel like we need it, and I think there's probably a lot of other organizations within our community that could use this also as sort of a guidance for things that they could implement in their own practices too. So I would like to make a motion to approve deletion of Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 5145.13, response to immigration enforcement.
Thank you very much. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And 19.2, Superintendent Kramer.
Dr. Cohen?
All right, thank you. I am going to go a little bit more in depth than I usually do on the presentation of this board policy. So tonight we are presenting the first read of a new board policy and administrative regulation 1445. Both are titled Response to Immigration Enforcement. This policy update is necessary to comply with new law, AB 495, 2025, which requires districts to update their policies by March 1st of 2026 using language equivalent to the model policy developed by the California Attorney General. These new documents replace the former board policy and administrative regulation 5145.13, which were considered too narrowly focused on students. The new policy significantly expands the district's response to immigration enforcement to encompass protections for students and for staff. And I'm going to review all of the key requirements for both. So with the key requirements and prohibitions in Board Policy 1445, staff prohibitions, the district staff are prohibited from undertaking actions related to the citizenship or immigration status of a student or their family members, the education records or any information about a student, family, or household, personal records, personal information, or confidential information of an employee, and granting permission to an immigration enforcement officer who enters a district-provided transportation or non-public area of any district property, facility, program, or activity. With regard to reporting, the superintendent or designee is required to report to the governing board any requests by an agency conducting certain immigration enforcement actions. And with regard to student rights and data use, students may not be denied equal rights or subjected to unlawful discrimination, harassment, intimidation, or bullying based on immigration status or refusal to provide status information. District resources and data are prohibited from being used to compile a list, a registry, or database based on national origin, immigration status, religion, or other protected categories. With regard to parent and guardian notification, the superintendent or designee is required to provide parents and guardians with specified information and notifications related to immigration status or religious beliefs and their rights concerning immigration enforcement. With regard to Administrative Regulation 1445, this provides specific direction to staff on how to respond to requests for information about a student, family, or district employee by immigration enforcement, requests for access to a student or permission to enter district property or transportation, immigration enforcement when an officer is actually or imminently present on district property, and instances when a student's parent or guardian has been detained or deported. So this item is presented for information only. It will be brought back for action at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Are there any questions?
Questions?
No, I don't have any questions, but I think it just helps to reinforce that when students come to our school district and they're participating, they are students, that's all. Like, that's what we want them to be. They're here to learn. We're providing that environment. They are students.
Thank you. I see a nod from Trustee Levack, so that's yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah, no comments. This is just an info only, but thank you for that, and I appreciate the lengthy description on that one. Let's hope we don't have to do it again. Keep it there. Brings us to 20.0. Comments from the board.
I don't have a lot of comments other than we did have the question come up in public comment about sort of the protest question. I would be open to having something on an agenda. For me, it would be more about what's our process, and sort of, I think I've heard from quite a few parents that they just don't really understand like what that looks like. And so I think just for sense of information sharing, I think it would be helpful for us to just as a board understand what that looks like, because we could have more of these. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Danielle, and that's one of my notes that I was just going to ask you afterwards. You know, it was one of those things that did come quickly, and how do we become more prepared for that? And I do, you know, some of the students that did come up say that was meaningful for them. It was important to them. You know, if there were some steps that we didn't know, I think it would be important to have everyone understand what that was all about. I agree on that one. Board business, I can't believe Truckee Elementary didn't shout me out. I've had a blast Tuesday and Friday. I'm skiing with the 4th and 5th graders at from Truckee at Alpine Meadows, and we've had a blast. The only rule is they have to have fun. They can't lose me. And then I had some great parents come with me, which was really good fun. And then some of these kids have, as some of the other students were saying tonight, they have never been on a chairlift or on the little carpet or the snowmobile, but really, really fun. missed the mitten today at Truckee, or at Tahoe Lake. I missed a couple things. It's hard to do it all. But I know that we did have some high school races happening. I don't know what happened at the race today at Donner, or at Diamond Peak. I didn't hear anything. I hope our teachers were going to tell us that. But other than that, definitely enjoying I've been biking. Like, I don't understand. We will, at this point, Trustee LeBac, thank you for being with us. Appreciate you being here so that we had a quorum. That was a big deal. So thank you for that, and we will see everybody in 2 weeks.